right, guys, welcome back to the Convene Team podcast. This is a podcast where when you need business strategies, when you need strategies for your life, this is the place that you need to tune into, okay? My name is Tameshia Weaver.
And I am Christi Farmer.
And together we are
the Convene Team.
Convene Team, right? It's so funny that, again, we're just getting started. As you guys know, we launched this podcast within 45 days. And so we're getting started. We're trying to figure things out. And one of the things that it kind of just happened naturally is our name, right?
Right.
So that's the really interesting thing about that. Today, well, first of all, how are you feeling today? How are you feeling? How's life?
Life is good. Life is good. So since the last time we've been in front of the cameras, Sweet 16 out the way.
Yes.
Diet going amazing.
Okay.
I've realized so many things about this diet that a lot of it is really, I was eating real wrong, and now that I'm eating real right, everything is falling into place.
Your energy's good?
Oh my goodness, energy's good. Running more.
Wait, running? Because the last time we were talking about taking steps. Now you're running.
Okay, so the first mile I walk.
Okay.
And then the second mile I do run it.
Okay.
And that's going good. And then even like the normal woman attitude that I have at a certain time of the month didn't even happen.
And how long you been doing this?
This may be week 4.
Okay.
Yeah, week 4, week 5. So, and it doesn't even feel like a diet. It really feels like this is going to be a lifestyle change for sure.
A way of life. I love it. I know we were talking about one of your anniversary gifts.
Yes. It was a large ninja. So I make smoothies for my family. We had a small individual ninja. So I would have to make 3 different ones,
like
3
put
and a half.
The ingredients in. Okay.
Yes, wow. 3 different times. So we're 4 years married, and 4-year anniversary gift is a appliance. So I bought him a cake mixer because he bakes. And he's been using it for pancakes this morning.
Okay.
Like this morning he made pancakes, so he's been mixing in the pancake mixer. And then he makes an amazing pound cake during a time where I'm not supposed to be eating sweets. But I treated myself because I had lost 4 pounds. So celebration of that was I got to have a piece of, that cake was
okay. Well, you know what?
Amazing.
Since I'm definitely doing a little bit more exercise than I have been, but my eating, I need some work on. I'll go ahead and get your pound cake, okay? I hope you got some in the car.
And we don't. It is gone. They killed that pound cake. I'm glad I got a piece in for sure.
Oh yeah.
About now, what's been going on with you?
Everything has been going on. Like I was telling you earlier, it's time, and I'm so excited about this show because it is definitely time for us to start hiring and bringing in some other team members because as life keeps lifing, like people say, I keep getting busier. My plate keeps getting to be full, so just need some more help. And this is the perfect time to be able to kind of analyze what exactly I need help with, and to be able to delegate those things out, so that when spring really springs in and stop playing with us, because here in Atlanta, like winter and spring is fighting each other.
Right,
like, who's gonna win, right? So yes, I definitely want to be out in these streets this summer, and I don't want to be as busy as I am. So definitely looking forward to bringing some more help in, and just getting back to I guess you can call it balance, but I don't know.
Balance is relative.
Balance
is relative. So I do have a question about when you said you're looking to add more people. What prompted the need to, other than your business is growing, but because I know a problem for a lot of entrepreneurs is handing over and actually hiring people, right? Business may be growing, and then for whatever reason, finances, you just don't want to put that money out there, which we know that in order to grow, you have to spend and pay and free yourself up. But specifically for you, what was a reason that you said maybe prompted, like, we gotta...
What we're going to talk about today is the fact of I started to fall out of love with my business, right? And so that is literally what we're going to talk about today. What happens when you fall out of love with your business, and then what can we do to rekindle the fire, right?
Right.
And so with me, right now, I'm experiencing burnout. Burnout is the number one thing I think that when people start to kind of question why they're in business, what's going wrong, and even questioning yourself.
Is this for me?
Right.
Yeah.
All right. I was about to say, because I have spent quite some time questioning myself, like, okay, am I a good leader? am I as good in operations as I thought I was?
Yeah.
Do I have all the skills? Should I go back and get a course? I start questioning myself, right? All these different things start to really kind of weigh on me. And with me adding more stuff to my plate, but things that I want to do, aka this podcast, this is something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. And I've added it to my plate, but I also haven't removed anything from my plate or delegated, different things that should be delegated by now as far as where we are in our business now. And so, definitely the burnout. Sometimes I'm to the point where I'm so tired. I look at the clock and I'm like, okay, I just went to bed at 3 this morning.
Right.
And I'm back up at 6. This cannot be life.
Right. And there are definitely seasons in businesses where that's going to happen. Even with the best delegation, you're going to have to go hard. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. And that's definitely something to know too. There's going to be seasons and patterns, and you have to kind of know where you are, right? But if you've been there, if the season has lasted.
Never changes. Yeah. Right.
You really need to kind of reevaluate where you are.
Exactly.
And that's where I am. And so again, the burnout, and then also really, I guess, being able to operate in what I do best, which is the marketing and the sales. That's something that that is my area of expertise. I love to go out and get the business. I love to go out and meet new people and to build those relationships. But operationally, managing drivers and managing people and managing customers and all this is taking me away from that. So when I'm not being able to do what it is that I love to do, or the part of the business that I love to do, that's also what caused me to fall out of love. So let me ask you this.
Okay.
So I know right now, within business, marriage, kids. I've never been married, don't have any kids, but I can imagine there are times that you're not gonna like your kids, not like your spouse. That there's going to be times that these things are going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So have you experienced falling out of love with your business since you've been in?
Yeah, actually, I was literally talking to my viewers because I go live for my business, and I was telling them how I realized that I was falling out of love with what I was doing. And in the moment of falling out of love with what I was doing, I didn't even take what would be my own advice, which is to reevaluate why. I started looking for other things. So I was really like, well, maybe I should go into this, or maybe I should go into that, And I got back to why did I do this business in the first place?
Right.
Like getting back to my why. And I hear people, I've been in trainings, I've said this to consultants, I've said this.
It's so cliche.
Yeah.
Find your why.
Find your why. But when you're at a moment where you have fallen out of love, it's literally, I think sometimes we have to compare like love and falling out of it. It literally the same steps applies in real life with a couple and a relationship as it does with your business. And you look at your business as your partner, right? And the business builds you up, you build your business up. You may fall out of love with your partner, and when you're married, you just don't. All right, we're gone. I fall out of love with you.
Like the honeymoon phase.
The honeymoon phase, exactly. And that's where I was in my business. And I realized it was because I was going through a transition or a pivot moment where I was going from my business suite space and moving into an office space that I had built in my backyard. But I was in that in between.
Right.
And so I was working out of my home, which is great for the people who live there, but not necessarily for my business to be in since it's grown. Because it started there. It started in a house and it was fine. But now since it's grown, it just doesn't fit in my house anymore. I've also added a 2-year-old to the, and then now I have a teenager, not a preteen, not a kid. She's a full teenager. And then being married, we add a bonus baby to it, who's a teenager. Like business just doesn't fit. It doesn't fit in the house anymore. Right. And I hated showing up. Part of my business growing requires me to show up on social media live. I was not enjoying that. You could tell my excitement was gone. I was literally doing it, but I wasn't in love with it.
Right.
And when I fixed the problem, like I knew what the problem was, and it wasn't a problem that was going to stay for a while. It was just a transition period. The building wasn't done. I was moving out of one place. My stuff was in the garage, and I fixed it. And once I got back into the love is back. Okay, like I tell I'm back, baby.
And that happened quite fast because I think the transition was like maybe 2 months, a month and a half.
It doesn't seem like it though. Even this is why I tell people, like when it comes to marriage, it's my second round at this thing, and I'll tell people, when you think about, like, if you're going to be married, the goal is to be married 30, 40, 50 years until death do you guys part. Then if y'all fall out for a full year, 12 months, you can't stand this person. Really? Is that a long time when you're going to be together 30?
Not in the long
1 year is nothing.
Not at all.
But when you're in it, 1 year feels like, oh, this ain't for me.
Right.
He got to go.
Right.
Like, I'm not changing who I am. And that's
grass
how
is greener on the
grass
other
is
side.
greener on the other side. And that's how I think I put perspective into the business. Is like, if I'm gonna be an entrepreneur and a business owner for a lifetime, is this the freedom that I always want? Then if for 12 months I'm falling out of love with it, and it takes me 12 months to fix whatever problem has caused me to fall in love, fix whatever, getting back to the why, because the why changes, and that's the reason why I reflect on it. My why when I started my business was to make an extra $1,000 a month. Well, when I hit $3,000 a month, if I was still operating on that why, then I'm done. This ain't for me because I've reached that.
Right.
But when you reflect, you're like, you know what? I'm falling out of love because my why has changed, and I need to go back to the paperwork. I need to go back to the drawing board and realize what's my new why. Like you were saying earlier, it's not about me. Like my why involves other people. So if I fall out of love, then I need to look like it's not going to just affect me.
Right.
It's going to affect my family, my kids. Like, this is a lifestyle that we've created. This is a family gathering. Like my kids understand that this is what we do as a family. This is pretty much our brand.
Right.
Right. And so
it's actually very good that they understand that, though.
This is true.
And I'm glad. Well, one, especially because you're back around the house or in the house now, so they can see more of it. Because I'm sure when you were going out, outside the house, it probably wasn't so apparent of like how much work you're really putting in.
Or that this was us.
Yeah,
it's like a career where you leave and go to your job, and doesn't involve your kids. But when it's a business brand for a family, then it's a us involved.
Yes. So that's really dope to make sure. And that's something key too, I feel like, is to make sure that the people that are in your circle, that are in your life, understands the business, understands the goal, the vision that you have for it. Because at that point, when you start to fall out of your business, you have a circle of people that can reel you back in, and they can really help you to get back to the love, right?
The love, yeah.
The love. So that's really dope. So another thing that I feel that kind of catch people off guard, which I really want to make sure that people understand. There are going to be times in your business where there is either no growth or there's slow growth, right? There's going to be times that your business, actually, the revenue starts to go backwards. You start to be, when you look over it, I think it was maybe year 2 or 3 for us. I think it was year 3, actually, where I looked at the year-over-year number, and I was like, well, damn, what happened? We are, we're a few $100,000 behind what we did
last
year. And in my mind, going through it and just like looking over monthly numbers every month, I didn't really pay attention. I guess I wasn't seeing the trend. But when I looked at the annual number altogether, I was like, okay, wait a minute, something happened. And I had to go back and figure out what month it happened in. And, thank God we take detailed like notes about different things if we didn't have enough team members or if we had to close the system down because of the demand was higher than what we could, so we do take daily notes, and I was able to kind of go back and pinpoint what happened. But again, documentation helped uncover the fact that it wasn't the fact that we're just doing a terrible job. There were just some holes that we needed to fill,
gaps,
right?
yeah.
Some gaps that we needed to fill. So, periods of like slow and no growth. What do you think about that, and how would you tell someone else to kind of get through that moment?
Well, let me tell you how we're dealing with it now.
Okay.
Because it's not necessarily slow growth, but it's a year over year. The pandemic was amazing for us, right? And I've had to bring this to attention to a lot of business owners that if that was their story, where the pandemic was amazing and your numbers skyrocketed, which is my story. And then looking year over year, like last month, this year to last month, last year is not the same.
Right.
And I literally had to go and look at, this is why data and knowing your numbers, knowing how to go find your numbers, knowing what happened during that time. And so I look at the year before the pandemic, and I'm currently doing better than the year before the pandemic.
Right.
The pandemic was what I tell people for our business was unicorn years, you know? And so as literally in our business, as long as you showed up, you did better than any year that you could have done, right? So I had to look at like, oh, it's not me. It's not my processes. It's not my system. It's not my leadership. It's just the things that were outside of my control that are causing a change. So that's really a review. And then instead of, because I spent, there's a lot of things. There was the moving in my place physically, and then it was the change in the economy. It was a change in people's behaviors. So how I could find my customers was different than how I need to find them now. Even when social media, if you do ads, the algorithm would change things. The TikTok right now is a place where if you do ads on TikTok, they're going to literally put it in front of everybody. Right. Facebook used to be that way, and then they changed where, because it's social media, you literally have to be social in order to attract people, where before you could just show up and it was going to work for you. And so those are things that are outside of my control. So instead of just throwing it, thinking like, oh, this isn't going to work, it's my product, it's my team, it's me, I had to look at things as a whole and realize that it's not just me. There are things, and what can I do even though there are some things that I can't control. Right. And so, like you said, looking at numbers was really important to me at a time right now where my numbers aren't the same as they were in the last 2 years. And then comparing it to a time where those weren't factors, and then pivoting accordingly, and then changing my why, and then backing in. Those are literally all the things that for any business to do is, now what is my end goal? How much money do I want to make? And then backing into how am I going to get there? Because how I'm going to get there this year is not going to look the same way of how I got there last year for factors that are outside of my control.
Absolutely. Even to the point, so when somebody tells me that they're not getting the sales that they want, or they are experiencing a loss or whatever, I'm asking, one of the things that I ask are, what are some of the money-making activities that you're doing on a daily basis? Now, the one thing that we have to keep in mind is you have to be consistent, okay? So you can't just say, well, I sent an email out this week and nobody bought anything. Well, of course nobody bought anything. They probably didn't see it. They're not used to getting emails from you, right? So you really have to be consistent at these money generating activities. And there's a whole list of things that you can exhaust to ensure. So when was the last time you picked up the phone and called your top 10 customers, or who used to be your top 10 customers? Like literally, when have you, we get so used to this online phenomenon that we have access to. But you remember back in the day, and I don't know if you remember, but my grandmother, I used to be at my grandmother's house, and the insurance man used to come
to your door,
to her house.
Yep, that's right.
Talk to her about the insurance, collect his money, and be well on his way.
Right.
He came to the house.
And who can avoid you that way?
What?
I mean, unless you're doing them like you do the Jehovah's Witness, you might want to, not answer the door. But when it comes to your paperwork, you're not going to ignore the insurance guy, right? You're not going to, which is funny because I have an insurance agent, so I didn't just go online and pick a company and pay for it. Like I actually went into I actually had an old person who retired, old agent, and then they handed me off to somebody new. She called me to introduce herself instead of my policy just changing. I had no idea. She called to introduce herself. She called me last week.
Okay.
She said, your policy is going to be up next month. We want to see if there's been any changes. Oh, there actually excuse me, has to need to drink something. There has been a change. And I said, the change was I built something in my backyard. Right. I need to have that insured. She was like, great. How much? Right. I was like, I need to have that insured. And then we talked about the value of it. What is it classified as?
Does it add value to your house?
It does add value to my home. Exactly. It does add value to my home. And then what is it classified as? So when I went to go get the permit to have it built, what did I tell the county it was? As opposed to maybe what it actually is.
Strategy.
Right. And so we had to talk about that. But that's the difference. Now, am I going to leave her? I'm going to definitely think with somebody. I've been approached by State Farms. I have an American family. So if anybody wants to go ahead and
you need a referral. Get that premium down.
Right. Exactly. They reached out to me and I'm like, I don't know if are you going to offer that same customer service that I'm getting from my agent, not just a regular company?
And that's something to point out. I mean, you know, look, this show is going to be about business and life because that's what we're doing. But the relationship that you're building with your insurance agent, your banker, like anything that is of importance, if there's a person that you can talk to, you know, I would think that you would want to actually talk to that person versus just going online, filling out this information and letting the computer and the system and the algorithm find the best what it can feel is the best solution for you. Like you said, talking to somebody, like, and for your insurance agent to know, hey, I need to pick up the phone. She probably got a few extra $100.
I get birthday calls.
You get a call, not an email?
I get a call. I got personalized
the card
stamps.
Okay.
Not stamps, but the labels.
Okay.
Labels that has my name on it and my address. That shows
From your insurance?
From my insurance agent.
Okay.
And she doesn't do it all. This is delegating. She has 2 people who work in her office. I know the lady's voice. Her assistant, I know her voice when she calls me. All right. Hey, she's always happy. Hey, Christy, we're friends.
Yes.
She calls me like, and here's the thing I think the point that you made is, don't you want to? Here's the strategy. You don't even have to want to. If you are in business, these are things that you have to do. These are the income producing activities. These are when you get back to your why, whatever, if you're offering a service, if you're offering a product, if whatever it is, you actually need to reach out to your people. I did it this week. I reached out to my top 10 customers. I went into my Shopify and I looked to see who has spent the most money with me this year so far. I reached out to all 10 of them. Now, I didn't pick up the phone and call them because we're not customers. Our relationship isn't based on that. Like, I don't have most of their telephone numbers. I have their email address. I know their social media tags. So I went and sent them messages on social media. Some of them I left voice notes. Some of them I just, typed it in.
That's a key too. And I love when people send me voice notes. I haven't really gotten into that, and actually that I should, but that's something definitely to. Even I've heard of people actually doing like video notes too.
Video notes.
Yeah.
People are more likely. It's real easy to ignore a word, but people are so interested. Like, I wonder what this voice note is. They'll at least listen to the beginning if they don't listen to the whole thing.
Right.
And they'll at least watch the beginning of the video even if they don't watch the whole thing. But if you send a text, it's easy to ignore that. But you're more likely to remember to go back. Oh, what? I remember she sent me a video. Or I remember that was a voice note. So I sent them messages, my top 10. Okay. And I told them, thank you. I appreciate you, because they could choose anybody. I appreciate you choosing me. One person doesn't even buy product for me, but she's always on my live. She adds to my algorithm because she comments. Right. She interacts with my other customers. I told her I appreciate her.
So she just likes the show.
She just likes the show. I appreciate her engagement because her engagement still helps me, even though she's not buying a physical. Exactly.
And you need a hype man.
Exactly. And I told her another one I hadn't seen in a while. I just reached out to her to see, hey, I haven't seen you on my lives recently. I'm just checking in with you, see everything's okay. All their responses, and I even screenshot some and shared to my scene, all their responses was, thank you so much for taking the time. I shop with other people and nobody has ever done that. They told me, I'm always coming back to you because your shows are amazing and I appreciate you taking the time to follow up with me.
And that's
10. Law.
And so okay. And you said that you pulled the 10 from your highest customers last year, right?
This year. So this year, the ones who have spent the most money with me so far this year.
Year to date. Now, I would challenge you and anybody else to actually go back the last 3 years. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna tell you why. Because with us, we're rolling into our fourth year, and I vividly remember like our top customers, know them by name of who they were when we first started. I don't hear from them, or I don't see their names come across on the order sheets as frequently now. So I actually just triggered something within myself. I need to go back and reach out to them to see, has anything changed? Was there, we send out 2 surveys a year, right? And a lot of people do respond because we give free stuff when we send them out.
Let me sign up for this.
Amazon cards and all kinds of stuff. And like I said, we get a lot of engagement and open rates and the surveys completed, which it's really funny about surveys, and we'll definitely have to talk about this on the show, because I really want to know, like, what can we improve? But I feel like I don't know if people just don't want to be honest on the surveys or what, because most of the time they're like, oh, you guys are great, and, nothing needs to improve. And I'm like, okay, well, wait a minute. Well, if nothing needs to improve, I need to be a billionaire by now. So something, that's something to note too, is that when you get a survey, people really be wanting to know what they can improve in their businesses so that we can continue to grow. So please be honest. You don't have to be brutal, but just be honest. But yeah, so that, like I said, this conversation triggered me to just remember, when I get back, one of my things to do for the next few days is to just go back through a few years and look at the top. I need to look at like the top maybe 20, but to reach out to them directly and just start the conversation. They may have moved, or life, maybe life and money maybe getting funny or whatever. Who knows? But at least I will be able to, have the conversation to know.
But the point that you just made about reaching out to your customers is another way to fall back in love with your business. I know that for sure did it for me, because sometimes we don't realize the difference that we're making in people's lives and what the service that we're providing. And when you ask your customers, you follow with your customers just to thank them, they typically respond back and let you know what they love about you, what they love about your services, and which ignites that love. Exactly, because you want to provide that to more people. You want to put more smiles on more people's faces. Like when I showed up live last night and someone said, "I love your eyebrows," and I thought my eyebrows looked a hot mess last night. Like honestly, because I went and ran that mile, I had to take a shower, and then I went live, and I just threw on something for my eyebrows, and she gave me that compliment. But that's the same thing that happens when you follow with your customers. They're gonna make you feel like important. They're going to ignite that fire in you again. So that's a great way to do it.
After you've beaten yourself up, because we beat ourselves up day in and day out. So after you've beaten yourself up, okay, to be able to have them come back in and actually remind you that you are the shit.
Exactly. Well, even to the point that you said, like, there may be something they're not telling, like your thought process is they're not telling the truth, they're leaving information out. But the reality is you're doing an amazing job, and the reason that you aren't at the billion is just because you just need to add more of those customers. It's not that you need to do anything different. You just need to work on getting your product, because your current customers love it. So how are you going to get 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 more of that customer that's going to love it too? So it's not necessarily, maybe they are being honest. Maybe they are telling you, man, I can't possibly think of anything else that you could do better other than, you know what? How about tell more of my friends and family about this so they can do it too?
And that's the fact. Referral.
So that might be the next step.
The word of mouth referral, like the word of mouth business that you get, far beats any advertising dollar that you can ever put out there. Because if you were to tell me today, XYZ restaurant down the street has the most amazing empanadas, okay, because I love me an empanada. Let me tell you, I am going over there without even thinking, without even checking a review, without even looking at a price. I am going to get that empanada because I trust what you tell me. You know what I'm saying? So that is definitely, just a great thing to point out too, is that referral business, those top 10 customers that you have, they have friends just like them, and they will be able to.
But it's the intentionality of, don't assume. People aren't going to naturally know that to help you means to share. And so for those 10 customers, that's like the next step to the referral, or the next step to the conversation is, there isn't anything we need to fix. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate, how you could help us. Using the word help goes a long way with people. And so if you just say, since you are loving this, we'd appreciate if you would help us by telling 3 people like yourselves about how they could find us. And they will go do that if you just ask.
I'm over here like taking mental notes, and I'm like
we're going to watch the replay and be like, she said this exact, because I'm definitely plugging in some things you said for sure. But that's the next step. That's how we end up leaving money on the table, and that's how it's easy for us to fall out in love, because it's not that it's literally one thing that you add to what you're already doing that takes it to the next level. Following up with the customers, they're loving it. Oh, there's nothing I need to fix. Then great, help me help you. There's other people who need this too. Or how did you find us? How did you find us to fall in love with us?
Now that's a big question too, especially in my business, and I'm sure many others, is the how did you find us? Because then that means you need to spend more time there. Exactly. And I love, so with us, we don't get a lot of phone calls for orders, but a lot of the senior citizens, and I love to hear them. I love when and they talk just like that.
Baby, I'm not good with this technology stuff.
Because the first thing first thing that we always tell people when they call, they're like, okay, well, this is my first time. I've never heard about car hops. This is my first time. And I'll say, okay, well, do you have access to the internet? Can you go online or download the app? And they're like, then that's when they hear the app, the technology stuff. Right. So, but when they do call, I always ask them because, we have several billboards up around the city and we do a lot of mailers and just different things. So it's always good to know, especially if you're spending money on these things, what you could be spending more money on, or if you never hear the fact that somebody has saw your billboard, you may just not want to pay for that again next year, So yeah, that was definitely key. And I do want to talk about this. So 9 times out of 10, when people come to me and they say that they're stressed, right? 9 times out of 10, it's a money issue. It's the fact that either they're stressed or they're not happy, right? It's the fact that they don't have enough resources to make them feel comfortable in life, right? And so that's another way I feel like people can fall out of love with their business if it's not bringing in the money that they were expecting. So, with me, I always look, okay, well, 1, have you identified what type of company you are? Are you going to be the Walmart brand where you are going to sell a lower price product, but you need to sell a lot more of them?
Right.
Or are you going to be the, Whole Foods or Target or something that's Macy's brand where you can sell higher priced products and you just don't have to sell as many, right? And I feel like a lot of people kind of get in one, I don't know if people do enough research to figure out the competitors and what's going to set them apart from their competitors and what's going to where their price point is going to be, what type of company they're going to be, right? So like I said, when people come to me and they start talking about they're stressed or they're not happy, the first thing I think about is how are those pockets,
right? Yeah. And
because if I could give you another few $1,000s a month or whatever, you're going to be happy.
Right.
Again, when people were getting these resources from the government and all,
and the stimulus,
they were the happiest people alive.
That was extra. Well, the average person, I was listening, listening to a podcast, and he was saying that the difference between losing people's homes and not to foreclosure was $500 a month.
$500 a month.
$500 a month. And the average person literally just needs an extra $500 a month, which has changed like the goal for my team. Our talks from now on is like we're going to have a club of 500 and we're going to celebrate 500 because in my thought process, if you make a 500, it's easy to double that to make 1,000 if that's your goal.
Right.
And it's easy to triple that to make 50. But you have to start with hitting a mark and then you look at like, well, either am I going to double my time or am I going to double my money towards it? Because it's literally 2 things. You're either going to have to take time. If people want to make extra money, you're either going to have to take time to do it or you're going to put money towards it.
Absolutely.
And if you don't have the money towards building it, then you have to find the time. It's either one or 2 things. Right. So for me, if I want to spend more time on building this podcast, then I have to let go of some other things, right? And letting go of some other things doesn't mean physically or literally mean it doesn't get done, but I need to allocate some money for someone else to do it. Right. And if I don't have the money to allocate, then it has to be my time that goes toward. It's one or the other. And so I either need to earmark or set out that a certain percentage of what I bring in is going to go towards paying for, like I have my 16-year-old right now who's working. I had her do one thing. She posts on my social media. She schedule it. I've made her an admin on the page. She posts on it. She did that for a while. And it was funny because her thought process, when I said she's going to make $10 an hour, it was that she needed to fill that hour with things, even though I hadn't given her an hour worth of things to do. It was just a miscommunication. So in her thought process, if I had given her an assignment, which is to post one thing every day, and it only took her 10 minutes, then she was filling in the other 50 minutes to get to the hour. And I was like, no, that's not how that works.
Right.
If you only work 10 minutes, then that's $10 an hour divided by the 10 minutes you get, and that's what you're paid for.
Oh, wow.
I was like, I don't pay you just to fill up
check,
time.
Baby.
I don't just pay you. Now, I said, eventually you will get a full hour's worth of work, but you've never worked for anybody before. So I can't say I'm going to give you $10 an hour based on no work experience.
Right.
So I'm giving you a small project. You do that successfully, I'll add something else to it.
Right.
And then once you do that successfully, which is maybe a 20-minute thing to do, now you've worked your way up to making 30 minutes of the hour, so you've made $5 in that hour, right? And then I'll add on to it. So she's doing that. Now, I've earmarked a certain amount of money. Well, the government literally has
Right.
earmarked a certain amount of money because I can pay her a certain amount per year
And
as
write
an
it off.
employee as a write-off. So I have said that this the max amount of hours she can get is this, because that would put me at the yearly amount per
Right.
child. I got two 16-year-olds. So I can make that work for me.
Right.
Yeah, know them tax laws, babies,
Right.
and use them to your advantage. The man and everybody else you know who is working the system and not paying all the taxes knows how to do it. That's my win. All right. I have two 16-year-olds, so I know how much money that I can pay them and write it off.
Right.
But that is the thing. It's either time or it's
Or the
money.
either or.
And you got to let go of one of them.
Right.
You got to let go of one of them.
But either way it go though, when you do, because energy is one of those things that it's just going to it's always going to be in circulation, right? It's just always going to be moving. So either way it go, you know, you're always going to win, but again, you have to know which one you're going to play with.
Yeah.
So.
And the time frame in which you want it done. Because you and I, because I'm married, because I have two teenagers and a toddler, which is a different makeup from what you have at your house, right? I have one that's in sports majorly, so that takes up different time. So I could possibly get something done. We might have the same goal. I could probably get it done in 3 years. Whereas you might be able to knock it down in 6 months. And it's just the allocation of things in our life. It doesn't mean that we can't both be successful. We just have to be realistic about what our time and our money allows.
Right.
Like there's people who will do a podcast and they need to start in their room. We have the ability to earmark a certain amount of money to come and pay for somebody to already have this, already have it set up. Right. And so we don't have to spend 10 hours on a podcast. We can really come and knock out 2 in 2 hours, where somebody else is going to have to take the time to
learn the equipment.
Learn the equipment. We didn't have to learn the equipment, right?
even want to know.
So then you can't compare our progress to your progress because we have different starting points. But our starting point really for us to get here now and do this quicker was because we've already spent 11 years in my business.
Right. And, you know, even with me, I've actually started other podcasts. But again, the reason why I fell out of love with wanting to do those podcasts is because I didn't have a team of people. It was just me. It was just me trying to figure it out. And one thing about me is when I'm learning something, like the on-the-job training, right?
Right.
I hate on-the-job training because I need time to learn it and then apply it. But if I'm learning it and applying it, and that's just, and then I have to be the talent, I have to show up, that's just too much. Okay.
Right.
So this right here, that's why I know that this always, I mean, just because it's me and you, is going to be a success. But we're set up for success just because we had the money to invest and to just, you know, making sure that it was
Timing is everything.
Production.
Yep. Timing is everything. Your talents will make room for you. And this is literally what has happened is any time before now, podcast would not have been something I could have done because of that, because of how much time. One, I wouldn't have had the money to pay for this space. Like now I could just pay for it and be like, so how many we need to, okay, let's pay for the next 3 months and knock it out.
About walking out of here and booking the next one.
Exactly. Right. Before that wouldn't have been the story. And I would have been stressed. I would have fallen out of love with being able to come in here. And I was literally talking to someone the other day who has a podcast, and she was asking me, can you teach me how to, or tell me, girl, I'm gonna need you to tell me how to upload it to YouTube. And I said, I don't have to do that part of it. Sorry, I can't. I can't teach you about that because I have a team that does that part of it. Like I told her, I was like, I literally just have to show up and do what I'm talented as, which is talk.
Just be the talent.
And just be the talent.
Right.
And so that is, I think, something you have to sit down and be honest with yourself about it. This is where I tell people, like, the starting point for coming into my business, the lowest starting point is $99, right? And so if you don't have $99, but you want to do it, then what are you going to do if you want it that bad? It's for any business. If you want it that bad, are you willing to go work the part-time job that you really don't want to work for the dream?
But it's so easy to find, it's so easy to run up on $99 right now. Because
if you want it.
I mean, but I'm just saying, especially with the gig economy and things that you can, people are
DoorDash
always,
3 times.
I'm telling you,
car hops 2 times.
Right. People are always looking to kind of delegate things that they don't want to do. So, I mean, I'm sure you can go onto your Facebook page right now and say, you know what? I have some time this weekend. Who needs their closet reorganized? And
I did that. I literally did that. I did. I would go to you name it, but Value Village was my favorite place to go to. Value Village on the last Wednesday of every month has 50% off. Okay. So I would go in on the last day of every month and pick up brands that I know working women want to wear. Black and White, and Taylor. I'd go buy them for $2.50.
Oh yeah.
And then I could easily go on. I will go to Smyrna, Georgia. I wasn't in Decatur. No offense to Decatur, but that wasn't my market. I knew for sure I could go to Smyrna, Georgia, and get the women who wanted Black and White and Taylor would pay $10 for something I bought for $2.50. And that was, did I love it? No, but I knew I needed money to fund my dream.
Yep,
and so I did things that I didn't love, or because I couldn't, it was either time or money. It's what it comes down to. If you want it, you got to decide what you're going to allocate. You're going to allocate the time or you're going to allocate the money. If you don't have the money, how are you going to go get the money?
Right.
And 10 years ago, wasn't nearly as many ways to get the money as there are to get the money now.
So there's no excuses. But I love this. Like, this was really cool. And again, I feel like just having this conversation has kind of reignited my passion back. Because, even when we were off camera, I was telling you, now's the time for me to start thinking about who else we're going to start adding to the team, right? And I just even thinking about that process, I can see an end to, like, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I know that, within the next few weeks, within the next few months, some of my time I'll be able to give back because I have the money to pay somebody else, right? So like I said, this conversation has definitely blessed me because I'm going to leave out of here knowing that, okay, I can see the light. There's a plan in effect, and I know that, one, I've identified my problem, and I know that that's one of the steps to even, like, starting to get the fire back for your business is you have to identify what it is that is even the problem.
Right.
right? For you, it was you were in between moving, your transition. For me, I need more time to do the things that I absolutely love and absolutely need to do for my business and stop working so much in the business and, managing and the operation side. So, I really hope that, and I know that everybody was able to get something out of the conversation today, just because, again, we all are going to, if you haven't gone through it yet, you will go through it.
Yeah, it's part of the process.
So when you do go through it, you can always go back to this episode and to get that encouragement and to get that just the inspiration to keep going. One thing that I don't ever want you to do is I don't ever want you to quit before you really even get started, right? Even though, my business is 4 years old, I still haven't gotten started. This is not, we haven't reached anything when it comes to where we're going, right? So,
but you have reached so many things. Like the position that you're looking for is
an operations
manager. That, to even be considering an operations manager, means you've made amazing gains. Now, in the scheme of things, like when we talk about the 30-year marriage, it's great to be at year 4.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of people who didn't make it at year 4. But in year 4, you're already ready to add an operations manager. Like, when I think I compare things with, real life, like when I think of marriage, like that's equivalent to hiring a house manager, someone to manage your home so that you can have more time to implement to other places that are more important in your house or in your business. So you're in an amazing place. And this is why I know I don't have an operations manager. And that's not even in my next step. Like, my next step is to get an in-house employee. I used to have one, so I now need to get one back. And then
an employee for the house or the business?
Well, not the house. Not the house. Well, that'll happen too. Like I do want a home manager, to free up my husband's time. Because right now he's playing, or not even playing. He runs an amazing house, like an amazing house. It's teamwork, though. It is.
I'm telling you,
it's teamwork for sure.
That's
a whole nother show. That's a whole nother show. But yeah, you're at an amazing place, and I think that's the beauty of watching and listening to this podcast and joining in with the Convene team is because I am learning. So somebody who's at a 6-figure mark is learning from someone who's hit a 7-figure mark. That operations manager is in my future.
You have to. And I'm gonna tell you something. And I know we're gonna go ahead and wrap this thing up, but I didn't set out to make $1 million in revenue. Now, this is not $1 million in my account. This is making $1 million in revenue. I've never sought out to do that with a shoestring team. Like, when I literally was planning this business, when we first started, we have an organizational chart that I actually need to go back to because I need to kind of see.
That's the why. That's going back to it. That's it.
I'm telling you, if nothing else, this podcast is helping me. Okay. Because going back, when we first started, we created this organizational chart of employees, of team, of what our team was going to look like, right? But I never realized how much could be accomplished with just 2 people. And again, we have amazing drivers now. We have a whole team of drivers, so that's outside of that. But I'm talking about the people who actually run the business.
The corporate. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just Lance and I. So to be able to do as much as we have done, and you just reminded me that I do need to take more time to stop and give my own self flowers, and to
because you're a boss, you're killing it.
But when you're in the thick of it, you don't. It's hard to feel it when you're in the thick of it. It's so hard. But yeah. So to the point, again, as we're growing, we definitely need to add somebody. And if you are an amazing operational manager, love people, please hit me up in the inbox because we definitely need somebody.
Well, I think that's a great place to end.
Yeah.
The next step.
This was amazing.
Yeah, this was really good. I'm excited about our next one because we're about to take it to another level with the next episode.
Yeah. Now we know, what we need y'all to do, right? Y'all have sent us amazing feedback. Like I appreciate you. We appreciate you.
Yes.
For all of the calls, the DMs, the text messages, y'all.
Now put all that inside the comments below. That really will help us by commenting below what you walked away with from this episode. Mm-hmm. Also remember to like and subscribe. That will allow us to help even more people than yourself.
Yes, absolutely. We appreciate you guys.
So we'll see you back here next week with Convene with the Strategy Team.
Let's go. I love it.